Hello everyone and welcome to our latest Instagram Live. This is part of our series of Instagram Lives about skills to navigate the workplace. And I'm going to be joined today by my friend and colleague Helen Cowan, who is the founder of a fantastic coaching business called The Tall Wall. And I'm just hi Helen, hi Sarah. I'm hoping that Helen is going to send me a request to join, and she will join me in a moment because we've got a great session coming up on the topic of how to avoid corporate housework. And I'm looking forward to talking to Helen about what exactly that means. So hopefully Helen is going to send me a request to join and I can then patch her in. Helen, these things always do take a while. Here we go. The Tall Wall has joined. So hopefully I will get a message saying request to join. Yes, here we go. View request. Go live. I'm sure she'll be with us any moment. Brilliant, as this thing does its magic. Helen, there you are.
Hi, Dom. Hello.
Hi, I'm now going to have to scoot down a bit because I can see the screen is split. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. I'm hoping that everyone's had a fantastic summer and is kind of enjoying this feeling of sort of returning to normal a little bit. I was in London yesterday and it was pretty busy, which was good and nice to see. Came back absolutely exhausted. Obviously as more and more people are going back into the office, we obviously thought it would be great to do our Instagram Live today on the subject of what not to do when you go back.
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't joined us before, Helen, sorry, I should ask you to just introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm the founder of The Tall Wall. We are a specialist coaching company working with exec coaching clients, but also women returning to the workplace, either from an extended period of absence or from maternity leave. And we work a lot with the Return Hub and their candidates and the organisations that they work with.
Brilliant. So we were having a chat obviously a couple of weeks ago about what this session was going to be about, and you came up with this brilliant expression or phrase or I don't know what you call it, I suppose phrase I hadn't heard of before, which was corporate housework. So we thought, yes, okay, this is really interesting. Let's delve a little bit deeper into this and find out what it actually means, and talk to our followers about some of the things that we think they should avoid when they go back to the office, because I think there's going to be a real excitement about going back, and obviously probably a bit of nervousness about going back. I think a lot of people are thinking, gosh, is it going to be just like it was before? Is it just going to be the same? Did the last 18 months ever actually happen? You can imagine how very quickly things could return to normal. So there may be some people listening and watching who are thinking, God, there's an opportunity to sort of not reinvent yourself, but to sort of reset and start again and create a new impression. And so hopefully that's what this session is all going to be about, and this very very specific topic of corporate housework. So what is it?
Yeah, and I'll explain that in a minute, but I would say it's brilliant. Now is the time to make changes in how you work. It's very hard on a Friday afternoon to say, on Monday I'm going to be much more assertive and do things differently. It's much easier, having had this strange hiatus that we've all had, this strange time, to then come back to the office and be much more conscious and deliberate about how you are. So this is a great time to make any changes, any tweaks in your behavior and how you want to come across in the workplace. So corporate housework, what is it? Also known as office housework. It's really vital things that have to be done in the office but are not rewarded in the system that you might be in your organization. So these could be things like organizing training for people, organizing a team social, onboarding a new joiner, all the things that often women, let's face it, get asked to do. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. These are really vital things. They are fundamental to the working of an organization. But there needs to be more of an equal divide between who gets those things and puts their hand up to those things and who doesn't. And I would encourage particularly women to think about who else has been asked to do this apart from me. because we'll all know people in the office who it is below them to do work like this. You know, they would never even be asked because they'd be far too busy to do work like that. So really think about what you say yes to. There's some interesting Harvard Business Review stats that said that men accept requests 51% of the time and women 76% of the time. Just think about that. So we don't say no to them, to these requests, because they're vital, but make sure other people are also taking their share. That's what I'm really passionate about. Yeah.
Because obviously if you're taking up time doing this sort of office housework, you're not spending your time doing the things which you might be focusing on, which will give you more exposure, you know, maybe client work, maybe networking internally, but, you know, whatever it might be. And if you're kind of doing more than your fair share and others aren't, then they're having all that extra time to go and do those things which are helping them climb the corporate ladder. And the sort of corporate housework may well not be seen as that sort of things that you can do to advance your career. It's more just sort of, I don't know, I suppose, you know, just sort of doing your bit or being sort of, you know, part of the team, I suppose. So I suppose the thing is, you know, how should you say no? You shouldn't say no, you should do it. Or how do you say no if you do say no?
Do you know, I'd experiment just once saying, I am really at capacity at the moment. I'm afraid I can't take that on. Because often we are really at capacity, but we feel we can't say no. But you will know people in your office that would definitely say no to that, because they realise what is going to be important for them to climb up the corporate ladder, as you say, Dominie. So just experiment once saying, no, I'd love to do that, but I unfortunately I'm absolutely at capacity. And it doesn't mean we say no all the time, but just don't let your default answer be yes every time.
Absolutely. It's just taking valuable time away from the things that you could be doing. And so we thought there were a few other things as well, didn't we, that we should be sort of doing when we go back into the office. And I almost feel really sorry for anybody that I bump into when I'm going out and seeing anyone, because I feel like I've been unable to say the kind of quota of words that I really normally would say over the course of a year, and I'm kind of playing catch up. so any poor person that gets trapped with me literally gets a kind of, I don't know, kind of verbal tirade of just chat, because I'm just so feeling like I need to connect with people and want to speak to people and want to hear what they have to say too, but also I want to talk a lot. And so what are the things that we should be thinking about to make sure that we, you know, those of us that get energy from other people, you know, how do we again sort of reset ourselves in those terms?
Well, I think the temptation is to go into the office if you're really busy and to put your head down and do lots of work. So one thing is to walk the floor. And there's never been a better time to go and walk the floor and connect with people. Even that person who feels perhaps very senior, or is someone you've always wanted to kind of say hello to but haven't had the chance. Now you're in the office like, oh, hi, you know, today's my first day back, or it's my first week, how are you doing? It's a brilliant opportunity. There's an article that James Timpson, who's the CEO of Timpson Group, he does every Sunday in the Sunday Times, and I love his column. And this week he talks about this very issue. So get this as a quote. He says, one of the best commercial habits is walking around the office looking for trouble. Those who solve problems are the stars of the future and get paid the biggest bonuses. I would never promote someone I didn't know or rarely saw. I mean, that is...
There we go.
Do not just sit at your desk. Go around, introduce yourself to people, say hello. I'm an introvert. I hate that sort of thing. But we have to force ourselves to go and have those conversations. Be visible.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it's that easier because we've all shared in this common experience of the pandemic. And whilst I'm not suggesting that everyone's experience of it has been the same, people have had very different, you know, very different for a, you know, 20 something in a flat share to, you know, someone juggling online school, and, you know, so I'm not suggesting that, but there is a sort of common thread of the pandemic and storytelling and our own experiences of it that do kind of bind us together in a way that perhaps might not have before. And I think also, you know, the constant kind of Zoom calls and working from home means you've had a window into other people's lives in a way that you never would have done previously, whether it's seeing their dog or cat or kids or partner or house or whatever, you know, whatever it might be. And I wonder if that might in some ways make people feel that it's easier to talk to people they haven't met before or didn't really know that well, because there's some kind of very obvious bonds that they have now created, even albeit virtual ones.
It would be weird if you didn't. If you just went into the office and sat down and sort of said hello to the person next to you, it actually feels quite strange to do that, given what we've all been through. So I think you have absolute permission to walk the floor, go and introduce yourself, say hi to people, you know, checking out on how people are. I think that's expected almost, strangely.
Yeah. And I think also I would say is look out for any new joiners in your organisation, because imagine how tough it must be for them. You know, if they have never even been in the office and really they've just only been used to working from home and meeting everyone online, and they suddenly find themselves in an office environment and not really knowing what, you know, what are the sort of, you know, who knows who here, you know, where are the tribes, you know, and how does that all hang together?
I was talking to a coach recently who was telling a story of how she'd done just that with a new joiner. And the new joiner said, I wish I'd met you 4 months ago, because I have struggled in joining. And I wish I'd had a conversation with you, even if it was online. But it's so lovely to be here in the office with you, because you just made my day. So absolutely do that, as long as you don't get saddled with the onboarding and any admin related to the new joiner. But going into yourself to new joiners, I think, you know, absolutely, that's a great thing to do.
Yeah. And also, is there something as well for employers as well, as, you know, are you giving people the space when they come back in that first week or first few days to do all of that kind of reacclimatization, if you like, into the office environment, and to kind of reestablish those bonds with their colleagues? And, you know, what are you doing as an employer or a hiring or a manager to sort of help everyone feel like they're coming back together again? And it's not just, okay, so at my desk, it's 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I'm going to switch on my computer and check my emails and get into my own bubble. And you know, it's like nothing ever changed.
Yes.
There's going to be a period, isn't there, of
how do you facilitate that and allow that? And there might be a period of what looks like inefficiency, but actually in the long run, it's probably very efficient to allow people that time to connect. And you as a line manager, role modeling what that can look like, and making time to connect with people over coffee or over lunch or whatever, I think is really, really important. Because we've talked about this before, you can't underestimate how nervous some people are about coming back into the office, not just because of the threat of COVID, but the newness of it, and how awkward it is to think, God, I've got to get on the train, where's my Oyster card? How do I get there? What about the tube? You know, it's those sort of small things that make people a little bit anxious about going back into the workplace. So making time to connect with others, I think, is and walk that floor. That's one of the things definitely to do. Don't sit at your desk and just keep quiet.
Yeah. And I think, you know, think for those of you who might be finding it difficult to go back into a kind of in real life situation and see people face to face, you know, it will get easier. You know, the more you practice it and the more you do it, the more you'll, you know, feel like it's much more comfortable and easy and, you know, confident. And I think I wonder if there's a sort of confidence that has given, I don't know, Helen, you've said obviously you're an introvert. I'm not sure I 100% believe that, but anyway, this kind of communicating on Zoom, I think for some people has helped them really flourish in a way in communicating. It's almost like a kind of a protective window maybe between people speaking to other people, and they can feel very assured and very confident talking on Zoom in a way that they've got very used to. And I wonder if there'll be a sort of a nervousness about people going back and meeting and talking to people in real life that is a period of adjustment. So what I would say is just keep going with it, you know, keep practicing it, keep getting out there and, you know, just getting back in the zone of talking to people in 3 dimensions rather than.
And make a joke of it like you did at the beginning, you know, say to people, God, I mean, I'm struggling to have proper conversations in person. Just acknowledge that, because it will make the other person feel better, undoubtedly, because they'll have gone through the same thing. They might have been in the office for longer than you, but just make a joke of it, be really human about it. Because I think everyone will experience that. I certainly experienced that when I went back to the office. It was very strange to coach someone in person. I sort of, you know, forgetting what it is I had to do. How could I just be a normal person, sit there and have a cup of tea and talk?
Yeah. What do you do with your body? Like, do you cross your legs? Do you like, where do you, and it all feels a bit awkward and uncomfortable, but I think it's just practice, isn't it? I've just got to get used to it again. The other thing I would say is, having just done this yesterday, is it was, I know I said this at the beginning, but I felt absolutely exhausted at the end of the day. And I wonder if this is, you know, I don't know if you've had that, Helen.
Massively, and lots of coaches of mine, a huge, and a low the next day. So I had a coach the other day who said he felt on a massive high, having gone into the office and met real people, and then the next day felt really low because he's an extrovert and he wants that connection. It's the loss of that. So there's some ups and downs to this.
Yeah. So I think, again, you know, it's just getting used to it, getting your body and mind into that rhythm of the day to day. And I think it's not just like the actual activity of getting up and leaving your house and getting on the train and walking around and going into an office. It's all the sights and the sounds and the, you know, just the being out in a different environment, and your brain is kind of having to kind of process all this stuff again, and even just in your kind of subconscious way. And, you know, I just think for everyone who's listening, you know, I personally, for myself, I'm just going to accept it for what it is and try and also accept the fact that it will get better. You know, it's completely normal. It's totally normal. You know, it's a big change of environment, big change of pace, but you know, but we are very adaptable as human beings, and, you know, it won't always be like that, I hope.
Well, because you're not operating on autopilot. But you will operate on autopilot in the office. All the things that your brain has to process. You would normally be doing that in the background. At the minute, it's very much at the front of your brain. You're having to think about a lot, which takes a lot of energy. That will become automatic pilot like it once was in time. Just take some practice. The other things we were going to mention. So we talked about walk the floor. We talked about corporate housework. There's a couple of other things, 3 other things, I think. When we started touching on them, one was checking your diary and making sure it goes to that point of don't just sit there and do work all day. Is a third of your day in the office meeting other people rather than the whole day being on team calls or just sitting there doing work. Checking how you're using the time when you're in the office to your best advantage. I'd ask you to check that.
Absolutely right. You know, if you're going to be in the office only 2 days or 3 days a week, which many companies, from all the conversations I'm having, I'm sure of you too, Helen, that seems to be a very popular direction of travel, that it's a hybrid model. And, you know, you don't really need to be in the office to just send emails and make phone calls. No. You know, you might as well do that at home. So you're absolutely, I completely agree. Make the most of those in-person connections when you can. And I think your advice about a third of the day doing that is it a third of the day doing that, or 2/3 of the day doing that? A good chunk of the day. A good chunk of the day, to be seeing people, and maybe seeing people for coffees outside your own organization, in your network, and just making that time while you're there to do that, I think is really important. And, you know, whilst it might be tempting just to kind of get your head down and be back in the office and think, right, the Wi-Fi is perfect and the phone's right there and all the stuff's around me, so I'm just going to sit at my desk. You know, actually, is that stuff you could be doing when you're at home?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And maybe making a goal of meeting at least one new person a week as a minimum. I'm going to go and meet someone face to face that I've never met or haven't met for years. Like, despite COVID, I'm going to use this to connect with more people and improve and build my network. The other way we thought about for doing that was to actively join a group or an event or something in the office that you maybe wouldn't have done prior to this, but something that gets you exposure, gets you to meet other people, gets you to find out more about what's going on in the organization and in your industry. I think if you can put your hand up to those things, that's another great way of using your time in work in the office really wisely. Rather than putting your head down.
Totally agree. It's that I mean, I like that sort of mantra of, you know, doing things that make you meet new people and learn new things. You know, and getting out there and going to those events. I went to a breakfast event yesterday, which was a brilliant event called Women in Blockchain Talks. And I don't really know much about blockchain. I know more today than I did yesterday, a lot more, but it was from a very low base, as I admitted in the session. But it was really interesting. You know, I met new people who were in this incredibly interesting, fast-moving, innovative world of blockchain, and learned a bit more about this new technology. And, you know, I definitely came away thinking, great, you know, that was brilliant. You know, I've sort of, you know, achieved both those things. I've met new people and I've learned new things. And you know, that does give you a bit of a boost. And you know, I must say I really enjoyed it. So I definitely highly recommend definitely getting out there and going to that event, doing, you know, joining that network, or you know, or whatever it might be, to kind of give you a boost. And sometimes actually it's a reason to kind of get up and go and do something. You know, you need that reason to think, I'm going to put my work clothes on, I'm going to get on the train, and I'm going to go to that event, and that's going to be the sort of the hook for me to kind of, you know, get out there and get back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, it's a shift in mindset, isn't it? And a shift in efficiency in how you use your time, and a shift of focus from just doing your day job, as in getting the stuff off your to-do list, but also looking up at, hang on a minute, what else is going on here? Who can I connect with internally and externally in my organization? Who's noticing all the great work that I'm doing? These things are just things to be really conscious of. Don't just go back to the office and let it be rolling back in time to when you were in the office pre-pandemic.
Absolutely. I can see we're already at 20 minutes. We haven't even touched on the career development piece.
But really quickly on that, a great excuse when you go back into the office, ask for a lunch or a coffee with your line manager face-to-face for a bit of discussion about where your career is going, any feedback about how you've been performing during lockdown, Great. It's brilliant to do that face-to-face. It's brilliant to do it informally. Instigate that rather than waiting for someone to instigate it for you.
Great advice, because I think for so many people, particularly women, who've been juggling you know, multiple balls on the domestic front, career development has been at the bottom of the list of things to do. And we know that it is one of the main reasons that women leave their careers, because of a lack of career development. So I definitely would encourage any of you to regain that sense of control over your own career and take those steps, however small they may be. And even if it's just thinking, I'm going to put that lunch meeting with my boss in the diary for 2 or 3 weeks time in the future, go for it.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone.
Great. All right. Yeah, good luck. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you so much, Helen. I always so enjoy our conversations, full of wisdom. For anyone who wants to hear more, there's the rest of our IGTV interviews and Instagram lives on the Return Hub IGTV channel, and I think on the Tool Wall channel as well. And so otherwise, it just leaves me to say, I hope you can all join us again next time, but keep a lookout for what the topic might be. If anyone has any ideas that they want us to talk about, please let us know. Otherwise, thank you very much. Thanks, Helen.
Bye, Dominie.
Bye, everyone.